This episode has been brought to you by Exter. Exter is the sickest brand for people that like to live life on the go. They have awesome wallets, like the 6-card holder. Comes in many designs and patterns, like the carbon fiber. We have the metallic sheet. We have the brand new glow-in-the-dark one as well. Go ahead and check them out if you are interested. They also sell many accessories like the Traveler backpack. They have the Grid backpack. They also have our favorite duffel bag that we like to use during travel. Fits a lot of things. It's pretty cool. Has a lot of compartments. Go ahead and check them out. Use code 2AM to save. And then, oh my God, we have it here actually. God. Our favorite coffee for today is another sponsor, Rare Bird.
Look at that.
Rare Bird is a paraxanthine coffee, which ZAID knows a hell of a lot more on that. But all I know is that you can have it any time of the day due to it not being caffeine like your average coffee.
Yeah, it's just a metabolite of caffeine, so you get all the benefits without any of the negatives.
Sick.
Which is what we always want to look for here.
Hell yeah.
2AM podcast.
Do not forget, use code 2AM for any of those. Welcome back. Today's episode is going to be about the power of letting go to achieve your maximum potential as a man. Sorry, ladies.
This is a male-oriented episode.
I feel like it's just necessary, you know? So what are the things that come to your mind when you think of letting go? You think of the efforts that you would put in towards another human being usually?
I might have a few things in mind, but you know, when someone says letting go in the personal development context,
yes,
it feels kind of abstract. So how would we define letting go?
Letting go, as in, see, keywords pop into my head like self-control, benefit of the doubt, definitely. But just to be probably more clear, I think, given certain situations and given your natural ability as your gender states, so as a man, right? Mm-hmm. Male and female operate differently. Now, we should have a wider capacity than women, and that's something I believe, obviously.
In what way?
In terms of taking in things like stressful situations or grieving situations, you know? Those are, I think, the clearest examples I can think of that probably most people can relate to.
Yeah,
you know,
I like that. I think when it comes to like letting go, that phrase specifically, we have to understand that it's indicating the act of it's assuming that you're resisting in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And so that's the key. You have resistance to anything, whether it's an event, something going on in your life, so forth, or you can just completely, quote unquote, let go of it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. One of my favorite examples is, as a man, let's just say you had a family member die, okay? And while everyone is grieving, there has to be someone that's holding up to do the service, right? Mm-hmm. Because if everyone's crying, no one's going to do anything, realistically. So there are certain things that you need to either separate from, let go of, right? Resist the urge to do something and accept the urge of the duty of being the backbone of this, you know?
Yeah.
Taking charge, taking the lead. And I feel like that's something obviously difficult to do.
Mm-hmm. But I feel like we're kind of designed to do that as men.
100%. Now, we can also talk about things that will probably help you achieve your dream goals, and to do it in a manly way rather than in a way where you just desire the automobile or you desire the house or you desire this and that, right? It's more about your track in creating a legend that sits pretty much in every single one of us. Mm-hmm. He's just waiting to be unleashed, you know?
Yeah, that potential's always there.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, one thing I wanted to start with, I think number one, and we're going to mention 5 of them here. Number 1 is the need to fit in keeps you stuck. So to start with that, if you think about tribes during the caveman era, if you didn't fit in, you get whacked and kind of like you're essentially kicked out of the tribe, right?
Yeah.
And you had to strive and feel the need to fit in within those times. But in today's society, we have technology, we have social media, we have the desire for fancy cars and a fancy lifestyle, and yada, yada, yada. Okay. So I think above all, we have a societal structure now, like friends, family, and a boss to answer to. And we still have that need slightly, I think.
Only slightly?
What?
I think we definitely have that. That need is central to us as people.
Well, yes. Well, depending on the person and the personality, I see this a lot, which is why I say slightly. But I think, yes, we have some sort, we have at least a percentage, in every single one of us.
Because it's like no matter what camp you fall into, you're trying to fit into that camp. Mm-hmm. People who are anti-establishment are fitting into the anti-establishment camp.
Yeah.
And so it just depends on the perspective that you're looking at it from.
Crazy. I mean, I can't disagree.
Well, especially now with sort of like it's one thing to be a hunter-gatherer and to get kicked out of your group, and then that almost certainly meant death. But when you're playing that game with social media, you're kind of playing it forever because there's no the expectation is so constant and the goalposts are always being changed that it's hard to get out of that game.
Also, I think rejection isn't a good feeling either,
No.
So being rejected from a certain type of thing, like volleyball Sundays, being picked last even.
You suck, dude.
Yeah, you get that initial feeling of I suck, or like that hint of rejection, which doesn't feel good. And that's what kind of brings you into the need to fit in, You feel like you owe that to yourself. Excuse me.
Or the need to create a personality that kind of avoids rejection. Like, you ever see those dudes who are stiff-lipped and they almost have a stick up their ass, and they go into a coffee shop or library and they don't say a single thing to anybody?
Yeah.
And they try to act like they have some bravado, like they have all the friends, and they don't need anybody.
When the Sigma male presence took the world by storm a couple months ago. Yeah, I remember that. Don't tell anyone your secrets. And yeah, I get it. There's little hints of that with what I'm going to be speaking about today, obviously, as we go down this. But obviously, any form of either right or left is extreme. So we still believe in balance here. Don't worry.
Balance.
But I think this is a good structure for just achieving and unleashing who you really are, And if you really judge everything by the bigger picture, you start to realize that these little groups where you find the need to fit into won't even matter, considering what you're either passionate about or what your desire is or what your inner child is speaking to you in terms of purpose, But anyway, enough with attracting negative attention, I guess. with all that, you have to find other ways to please yourself. And you have to come to a realization that you don't need to fit into anything anymore, I think,
Like be a one-of-one type?
Yeah. A one-of-one. And as you're on that journey of one-of-one type, you start to see these unique relationships and find these people that are that what you believed was one of one is now 2 of 2, and then 3 of 3.
Yeah, like finds like.
Yeah. So don't worry, your life is not theirs, man. Anyway, so this one's interesting because the desire for an easy life makes yours a lot more difficult. Okay. So you can only live an easy life if you choose a hard one. What does that mean?
Well, to put it into practical terms, if you decide to eat pizza every single night, and eventually, over the long term, you're going to get fat and you're going to die of obesity or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not going to have blood in your bloodstream. It's going to be oil.
It's gonna be
Nasty oil.
it's gonna be just canola oil.
Oh God, dude.
No, but you're making an easy decision based off of your emotion and your cravings.
Yeah.
And if you do that, constantly, eventually bad things will happen. If you do the opposite, good things will happen.
Yeah, excuse the neighbors here. They have like this, I don't know what it is, a compressor or something.
Thanks, Tony Stark, bro.
Oh my God. Rip to anyone using headphones right now. Anyway, so financial freedom, time with your family, and being fit and healthy require sacrifices, obviously. So you'll have to put in extra hours, wake up early, and sweat at the gym. That's how life works. It's difficult, But along this journey, you get to see the other side, which makes it a lot easier. And I think, for me at least, this has something to do with placebo in a way, where it's like when you do the difficult things first, everything else becomes so easy after.
Oh, yeah,
right?
without a doubt.
Like, what is cooking for 2 hours after you had to lift 250 pounds with one leg today?
On one
and you
toe.
struggled, and you still had 3 more sets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you did some pretty difficult shit today. Good job.
Brian Tracy calls that eating that frog.
Eating that frog?
Yeah. It's the idea that you knock out the hardest task in the beginning of the day immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bro, it literally makes everything seem seamless. And that's why it's a de-stressor in some sort of way. Because you did the stressful part, or what you thought was the stressful part, because it was just so hard to do, Either it took a toll on your body or even your mental, dude.
That's why I like training in the morning.
Yeah.
You're just so exhausted, and you're at the point where like you have a 1,000-yard stare, and that kind of gives you some it just adds a different quality to the rest of your day.
Absolutely. I think it defines your day better. And honestly, there's been a lot of days where I'm like, especially the days where I don't feel good. I just feel like, and it's going to be a long day anyway. And you kind of like, dude, I don't even know how today's going to go. Go to the gym. You walk out, you're like, I'm glad I went. Like, it's like all these endorphins. Like, you just feel like a totally different person than you were an hour ago,
Yeah, you never regret the gym.
100%. So contrast to that is what most people do, and you'll know why they struggle. You'll start to like hint at it as you go. And I think that in that state, that's when you start to talk to your subconscious and be like, I'm starting to figure people out now, I know why this guy didn't show up to whatever that one day. Or I know why this guy said that one thing during the meeting. Or I know why that guy was late. Or I know, you start to like kind of get a feel for these kinds of things based off of your own development, right?
Yeah.
And I think that happens in that stage. It's when you go through the struggle and then you rise on top of it and you start to see the benefit of it on the other side.
Well, let's also be clear, like as a species, we are supposed to struggle.
100%.
Like there's something called, there's an effect called hormesis where a little bit of a said poison, you could apply that to training, sunlight exposure, things of that nature. A little bit of that done properly increases your capacity to grow stronger. And so I'm not shocked why most people are struggling with anxiety, depression, because they just don't put any pressure on themselves. I mean, obviously you have, pressure to pay the bills or find a new job, but that's like, that's some fucking pressure that all of us are going to have to go through.
Yeah, just
you
think
have to actively seek different forms of pressure.
Think of every moment you've had a pressure, like you had to make the bills happen and today's the last day or tomorrow's the last day, for example.
Bro, time and time again.
Yeah. You hit it.
It's
right?
crazy.
You're like, boom. But like, how did you do it? After like sweat, maybe tears, depending on the person. Like you felt like your whole body was so tense for like a good period of time, even though it was just 24 hours, you know? And you did it. You provided results. Now imagine doing exactly what you did but spread it in 1 month.
Like you're back against the wall every single day.
Yeah, you make every single day count. You know how far ahead you would be?
Oh, leaps and bounds.
It's insane. That's how you would get to a position where you operate like 2 or 3 businesses, Yeah. While having employees and like figuring things out and all that. Anyway, most people buy the new iPhone, they stay up late, they drink beer, they literally like quickly digest donuts as they freaking just go about their day. You know what I mean? And then they wonder why. What the hell I'm feeling like this? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm never saying that you can't do that, but instead of doing it daily, maybe try like I don't know, once a week. If you can't do that, try twice a week, but just avoid daily. Like do some sort of change, you know?
Yeah.
So you can at least see the other side of it. Because if you see the other side of it where you're actually like, let's just say you were healthy for 2 weeks, just know how it feels like and memorize that. Your body will memorize it, and you'll know the difference.
Mm.
I do that a lot. Like I'll get off sugar for a little bit, and I'm like, dude, I feel completely different. I've actually finished like twice as many goals, whatever.
You're letting go
Yeah.
of a pattern of life.
Even though it was such a struggle to make that decision or let go in the process, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I'm going to skip this. I don't know what the hell these notes are.
The hell are all these notes?
Yeah. Anyway, point is, that mindset keeps you stuck. It levels up and reaches your full potential. Wait. I wrote that wrong. Leveling up and reaching your full potential requires you to make sacrifices again, whether it's at work, in your relationship, or at the dinner table. Don't expect to move forward if you don't fuel the engine. So when you get too comfortable and want life to be easy all the time, it becomes hard. 100%. So that brings us to the third point, which is the anchors and weight pull you down. And what are the anchors? So you can only rise as far as your chains are long, basically. So think of a ship.
Or like Patrick Bet-David gave a really good analogy with rubber bands. You know, one rubber band ain't gonna do shit. And the rubber band symbolizes like the opinions of your family members, okay?
Yeah.
You add 10 rubber bands and it becomes a force to reckon with. Like it's not, you know, one rubber band you can stretch and snap, but 10 you can't.
Patrick Bet-David, bro. I like that analogy. I was going to use like
Dude,
one.
it's a great analogy.
Yeah, I was going to use one that's kind of relative to like recent, because we see the SpaceX launches all the time. Or NASA's back in the day. They have a booster before the actual ship takes off once it gets to a certain level in the air, right?
Yeah.
So it's essentially the same way. It's temporary support.
Well, the amount of thrust that you need to get out of the atmosphere is incredible.
So the tanks fall off once they're burned out, which is essential to a rocket launch.
Yeah.
So I guess the same thing happens to you when you carry the dead weight.
And also, like, another huge point is, I mean, the classic quote, whatever you resist persists.
Yeah.
And so I guess you just have to look at what areas in your life you're resisting at a subconscious level, and then,
Yeah.
I mean, how do you even go about fucking letting go? Like, that's the tricky question.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll get to that after I mention all these.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, so these burdens can take many different forms. For years, I'm sure we've all had this. We've had a wardrobe where you like literally go through 150 shirts to find one, right? And you realize you don't wear any of them, and you still have to dig through pretty much every single time. So if you look for your favorite shirt, you're also entertained. You've also entertained like your friends and friendships and relationships by essentially doing things that you never really desired, but it's more catering towards that group. You know what I mean?
External opinion, kind of.
Yeah. It's an external opinion. So I think once you let go of that, that's when you start to become free and you rise higher. So you develop more of a sense of who you are. You know, that's where personality comes from. I'm pretty sure everyone's grandparent has probably said this, but it's like, I can tell your future based off of your friends. So it's like if your parent or grandparent ever tells you, you need better friends, or your circle really affects your mindset, you know, this is why you're kind of being held back, which is where the dead weight comes in. Listen to them.
Well, yeah, don't you find it funny as like young people who say, "Oh no, don't worry, it doesn't have any impact on me."
Yeah, I'll
Like,
still do my
if you're
own
friends
thing.
with 4 meth addicts, what are the chances
Okay,
that
that's
you're
an
going to become
extreme example.
It's an extreme one, but let's be real. The extremes are actually more of a they're a better example than any of like the mediocre ones.
A meth addict. No, okay. Now hold on. Let me a more realistic example. Okay. God
If
damn.
you're in LA, maybe.
Let's just say you want to have a headquarters one day for whatever business you're operating. Okay. Let's just say
Okay.
you sell almonds and you want to make it. You want to be one of the top producers of
SAIED, the almond dealer.
Yeah, there we go. You know. Do you think your friends that are rejecting jobs or being lazy towards life, waking up at 2 p.m., are the ones that are going to kind of help your inner comfort? I don't like.
Are they going to hold you back from achieving that objective of becoming the best almond like businessman of all time?
If you're hanging out with them, yes.
I don't know. It sounds like the quotes sound cute and they sound straightforward, but I think there's more room.
This is coming from experience. To be
Well, of course, you're more likely if you don't actually have fucking standards, you're more likely to slip into their behaviors.
Yeah. So I'll tell you one thing. I avoided my friends for a while because I was busy doing things, right? And I realized this pattern where I would get way too comfortable if I were to hang out with them.
Yeah.
Because they don't have the same amount of pressure on themselves as I do. And it doesn't seem like they have, or they don't give off the importance of like self-development or when it comes to financials or what your track of life is, right?
It's a great rule of thumb.
You have to guess with them. But for me, it's like clear cut. Like I know what I want, you know, and I want to work on it. Now, as I work on it, if I were to just always submit to doing what they're doing, I'm falling behind.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But if I stick by myself and people that are exerting the same kind of energy, which are now colleagues that I kind of just either have meetings with or I have intellectual conversations with, or it's kind of like instead of a therapy session, it's more like a mentorship session where you're kind of feeding off their energy and you can tell that they're after their goal just as much as you are, even though it's 2 different subjects.
Yeah.
You know? So now we're not sitting around there making jokes. It's more like, how do we see life? What's happening today?
Even the energy involved in the exchange is different. Like whenever we hang out with Kai
100%.
Chang, our previous guest, like there's just a different level of energy.
Yep.
Because the ideas you're talking about are so far ahead of like, oh, what do you want to eat today? Taco Bell or Carl's Jr.? Like,
Yeah.
it's a different level.
Yeah. It's more like you walk out inspired and you've actually gotten a boost of testosterone based off of just being around that, talking to what his agenda was about today, you know, like whatever. It's a different type of hangout, for sure. And that's benefited me a lot. And I've found myself to be hanging out with more outsiders than your, you know, close friend group.
Mm-hmm.
It really depends.
Yeah.
It's not always going to be like, I could say close friend group, but if you take them individually, it's going to be like, you know, some are not as motivated as others, or it just doesn't speak to my purpose in life and getting there, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Sure, it's a fun time. But is it beneficial to your end goal?
Yeah, and you can't expect people to meet you at where you're at because you guys have different timelines of development.
Exactly. And during development, you can look forward to free time. And that's when they come in. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And if you become successful, you'll have way more free time. Eventually, you know, other than possibly managing or putting your brain at a certain level. And I think once the human body adapts, you just think like that constantly, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, friends is one thing, but bro, family, that's another beast to tackle.
Yeah.
Because, you know, at a certain point, there's some family members you don't necessarily want to be around.
Yeah, 100%. But you do it anyway.
But you do it anyway sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. That's when your moral compass comes in, and you're like, let's be the better person here, and like let me at least set an example for the people that do understand. You know what I mean? You want to be. You always want to be like the good example. You don't want to be the bad example.
Yeah.
You know.
Unless you have like a
and
psychotic
that's
abusive
a form
father
of
or some shit.
Yeah, 100%. That's a form of self-control where you actually feel that. Like what you wanted to say is not what you said.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You see that a lot in like relationships when you're texting a girl, right? Like let's just say she said the most absurd BS that kind of like was sensitive to you, and you were like talking, you stupid, you know, and then you just kind of like delete it and you go, you just type out a more sensible, mature,
Just like, are you done?
reply.
Question.
Yeah, you done?
Are you done?
You know what I mean? It's
No, I get
it's
you.
not what you wanted to say, word for word, but you still said something. So you
It's
still
like
have,
at first your desire took control, and then your brain kicked in, and
Yeah.
you're like, I can approach this a different way.
yeah, it's like kind of your empathy kicked in or your emotional response kicked in, but then you're like, no, I'm a man. You know,
I'm a man.
let me think this through. Okay, Thomas Shelby, Arthur Shelby, whatever. What would they say? Arthur's kind of like out of
Arthur
control.
would just
Arthur's hella emotional, but yeah, Thomas Shelby. You know?
yeah.
If you want to go fictional character, he taught us a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's better to stay quiet, think about what you want to say or do, and then give off the performance. Don't immediately just be like, because bro, like think about you as a viewer. You know, when he got wronged, you were like, oh hell, you know, like you're kind of like going at, but he's quiet,
It was ice cold, yeah.
eyes cold, staring, either at him or at his like hands or cigarette, whatever it was. But he's like literally overworking his mind right now because he wants to do this right.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't want
always
to just do
strategizing.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, brings us to the fourth one. Your ego is the single biggest obstacle you'll ever face. See, the one thing that held me back and sabotaged me most was my ego. I was a little bit cocky about my business, so it crashed. It's happened twice. You know what I mean? I thought I did everything right in my relationships, so they fell apart. And I didn't want to accept these mistakes, so I kept repeating them. And that's kind of like the naive part of me, just being like, nah. I don't think anything went wrong. Maybe it was just wrong timing or whatever, you know? And when I started business, I was more like, I like the part of it, you know, where I'm like, I'm living the part rather than
Like, oh, I'm a businessman.
yeah, rather than seeing results or
Yeah.
strategizing correctly or seeking help and asking questions and finding a mentor, doing my taxes right, whatever. You know, you feel like you got it all, so it's like whatever. And I'd rather tell that as a story, which is very stupid. And we should be always asking for help. And I don't mean by like, oh, I need help editing this photo, or no. We should seek help and be honest with ourselves with things that you don't fully understand sometimes, you know?
Which is a lot of stuff.
Yeah, like my relationship with my CPA at the beginning. I thought I had it all, like, I'll just do my own taxes or whatever, until I effed up once. And I'm like, what? I don't even understand this. But in my head, I'm like, just understand it. And I'm like, how does that happen? You have to ask questions, you know what I'm saying?
Just understand.
Yeah,
it.
just understand it. Like,
That is
your
an ego thing.
Yeah, 100%. So there's nothing wrong with saying, like, I don't know this. Can we find someone to take care of it? Or can you enlighten me?
Mm-hmm.
Ask someone that has expertise in whatever, you know? There's nothing wrong with that. So your ego is one of the biggest things that's going to hold you back from all your successes. That's what I've learned. And that's obviously according to whatever success looks like to you. So
Yeah, but I mean, you could push back on that too. Like the thing about ego, the phrase ego, I think it's so misunderstood. People just inherently associate it with everything bad.
well, no. I don't think ego is bad. I think a big ego is bad.
Well, even a big ego, if you look at like prime examples of people who had big egos but simultaneously had the humility
Yeah, but people
to put in the work.
a survey was done where people that had big egos turned out to be more narcissistic.
So
Or carry narcissistic qualities.
would it be better to just label ego as just arrogance instead?
No, I think big ego is arrogance. But ego is good. I think ego is good because it brings out the bravado of confidence. While it's a more balanced state because I think you can admit fault or difficulty with certain things and seek help or ask questions, you know, or admit when you're wrong. Things like that.
Maybe I just have the wrong definition of ego in my head.
Yeah, because you can have little to no ego, which is like I'm gonna sit here and just play with my fingers.
You'd just be a fucking worm at that point, bro.
You're-
Like,
yeah,
you don't even have the drive to
an
survive.
idiot. And this is why this is for men, you know? Yeah, bro. Cloud judgment will twist your thoughts always. And it's like, I get the feeling of being powerful or cool or unique, you know, feeds us a lot into our ego.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, in my opinion, that's fine as long as you're being honest with yourself in terms of like, did you, like on this journey, did you seek help? Did you identify the difficulties? Have you admitted anything wrong? Because nothing's perfect. Something will always go wrong. You can't just people blame, you know, or avoid, or you blame everything except yourself, you know. So think of a project manager, like in an engineering firm.
Mm-hmm.
If something goes wrong, usually he'll get blamed even if he didn't work on it. You know what I'm saying? It'll just go back to him because that's where the reports go through.
It's his position, yeah.
Yeah. So they'll just accept it. They'll take the bullshit all the time and just be like, oh, whatever, you know, like, oh, it was my fault. But it wasn't really my fault. You know what I mean? It's kind of like whoever worked under him fucked something up, and then, boom, he gets the blame. So the fear of rejection stops you from trying. Fear of hurt stops you from opening up, and fear of being wrong stops you from seeing mistakes. If you want to reach your full potential, you have to leave your ego behind, and with it, your fears. So you got to obviously be comfortable being wrong, always. If you start by seeing that we are human, then it is okay, right? Because if we're all human, then we all make mistakes. Nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
Even if someone appears as perfect through confidence.
Well, yeah, everyone's got dirt,
you know,
under the rug.
A really good example right now is Vivek Ramaswamy, right?
Which I actually like.
I like him too.
I really like Vivek.
Yeah. But the way he comes off and the way he speaks, you're like, everything he's saying is correct. Everything is like, but how do we know that?
Mm-hmm.
We don't know, you know? Only the people that are really, really close to him and get to see him at his vulnerable point maybe have some other judgment. You know what I'm saying? But it's crazy that our ears and eyes immediately go, damn, I have fully trust this guy, you know? You'll never know. The important part for making mistakes is what? To learn from them.
It's not that hard.
And avoid making that mistake again. But if you do make it again, just learn again. Just try to put an effort into learning. That's what I've learned the most. Is that it doesn't matter. Even if it comes off as like, oh, damn, it's a little embarrassing or whatever. I'll still come out and say it confidently. Like I'll be like, oh, by the way, let's not waste time on figuring out who. I realized my mistake within this process. Here it is. I now know to do whatever. So like kind of repeat, you know, what not to do and how to fix it.
It's a very simple thing on the surface, but it actually takes a lot of maturity to do that.
And actually, the embarrassing feeling turns out to be not so embarrassing because you just gained respect.
Well, as a matter of fact, you want to put yourself in a lot of those embarrassing situations because you can't bullshit your way around embarrassment.
Nope.
If you put yourself on a project and you get embarrassed because that whatever end product was so shitty, that's an indicator that you need to work.
Yeah.
You need to continue to learn.
I saw a video this morning of a Zoom meeting with like a bunch of people discussing something. And then they went into the topic of how one of them used the company credit card to book 2 first-class tickets to some island. Okay? And I guess this island was like a part of their near future visit or whatever as a company. But basically the boss was like, we noticed there was 2 charges on the credit card for 2 first-class tickets to whatever, St. Lucia or whatever. And they were like, do we know what that's about? And then the girl immediately was like freaking out, you know, because obviously
Epstein.
it's like she thought she would like get away with it, you know?
Yeah.
But then they noticed the charges, and then she was like, yeah, we decided me and she threw someone under the bus. Like me and this one girl, and then the other girl was like, what the hell? And then she's like, we decided to go before the trip to check it out and like take photos and make sure it's the correct whatever. And they were like,
up.
She was just like immediately like, you know what? We'll have like a one-on-one meeting after this, and we'll discuss this, whatever. I hope she got fired because that's freaking stupid. But if I was in that position, I would have literally just been like, dang. So what happened was I actually thought I can get away with doing this. If you find if you find that it is correct for you to fire me, then so be it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I'd rather just like cut it right there. I don't want any of like the BS and like me looking like a liar and all
And
that. You know what I'm saying?
ironically, you would probably not be let go because you just said that.
Exactly. So back in the day, as a kid, I would probably lie. I'd start like trying to make my way out of it. You know? Oh, really? You charged twice? I only meant to do one, and that was a mistake, and I should have just used mine, but I probably used the wrong card. Whatever. You know?
Yeah.
But no, now I know. Just cut the BS. Just go through. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Because everyone knows it's a shell game. Everyone knows you're lying.
exactly.
You act like like the accountant's not going to see that.
100%. Anyway, also, the more you talk about things, the less you desire to do it, and then the less action is backed by it.
It's a huge problem. Yeah.
Right? Huge problem. Whenever I started something, I was so excited to talk about it and just tell people like, "Hey, I have this great idea, and I started doing this today." And then 3 days later, I'm losing motivation.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like you're selling yourself short, you know, in some sort of way. You feel good when you boast about it, obviously, and you like all of your accomplishments and your like desired goals, you know. And, like, after this idea, I'm gonna fucking have a McLaren, you know, whatever.
As if that means shit.
Yeah.
Like everyone does.
Yeah, I mean that's good for you, but I would compress it and keep it inside me. I'd rather keep people guessing, and then when the results start to show, your life will just show it. You don't have to speak it anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's a grander result, honestly. Instead of speaking about it, just get to work. Literally, step by step, get a notebook, start writing down every single thing. Be like, okay, so initially, what I need to get to end goal, let's start with number one. Do I need a license? Do I need this? Do I need that? Who do I contact for that? Do I know anything about that? No, get your ego aside. And this is you between you. You're just kind of like, let's just say, yeah, I'm a little dumb at some things. Just seek the help. Even if number one takes 2 weeks, just do it.
And that helps to maintain expectations too. Like people who don't lie, strategize around like with pen and paper around what they actually need to do. They're going to expect to achieve said thing in like a fraction of the time the other guy is.
100%.
And then when you find out that you don't have results, you're just going to end up quitting prematurely.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Yeah. Also, stop being insecure. I think that's one thing. I know, I came out harsh. I'm sorry. Just, okay, stop telling yourself sob stories about like, oh, I'm too short. Maybe I'm just stupid. Maybe I wasn't destined to be whatever because I have short legs or
stumpy ass legs.
Whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I have no more hair. Like, I can't be on camera. You know, whatever it is. I don't know what you do, but it's like,
going back to that resistance.
yeah, you got to think more rationally and be like, what are my skills here? All right, it's not about your looks. It's not about any of that. Okay, and that's when I think, like, as you grow older and start to mature, is that you start not really caring about what other people think or how you look or whatever. It's whatever you care about, whatever makes you comfortable, and it's kind of like whatever helps you work harder. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So some people are like, why are you spending $200 a month on like red light therapy sauna sessions? And it's like, well, just because it doesn't cater to you doesn't mean it doesn't help me. You know, it helps me with blah, blah, blah. You know, that's you. Who cares? There's no point in like arguing with people about that stuff.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Personal decisions. It's very stupid. Yeah, anyway. Choose to solve a problem over being right. Always. So one thing I always notice is during arguments, you know, someone is chasing to be right all the time, you know? And I've said some things back in the day where I was just like, I wasn't even sure if it was correct, but you're just trying to win the argument.
I was definitely that.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's very stupid because, and then when you get embarrassed by knowing the truth during that argument, right? Very valid and everything, you feel like an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, damn, dude. So what I started doing is instead being like, oh, I don't know about that, actually. or to my knowledge, it's like this. Correct me if I'm wrong. Blah
Yeah.
blah blah blah. You know.
Those are all big
And you're
indicators of
susceptible.
maturity.
Yeah, you're susceptible to like understanding this, and correcting yourself. And I promise you, when you're put in that situation and you learn from it, it'll stick with you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you'll now know it as a fact, which is cool. That's kind of where you want to be. Sometimes you'll have to forgive and let things go, and if it solves a problem, that's a small price to pay.
We see that last point. That last point is where I think people view it as abstract, because the said problem is the fact that you're resisting something.
Mm-hmm.
So to say that the solution is to just let it go is not very helpful for people.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, it puts people into more confusion, which allows them to stay in that cycle forever.
Yeah.
So, like, what are the practical ways someone can let go?
The practical ways?
In any facet. I mean, we have to pick a specific example here, but let go is too abstract.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like I'm letting go my phone and it's just going to drop onto the table.
Let
It's
go.
not that easy.
Yeah. I get it, because it's wired emotionally. It's wired, like, to your brain, and you're kind of, like, you're also a competitive being, so you don't want...
Especially with, like,
you don't want to-
self-sabotage.
Yeah,
dude.
you don't want to lose.
I mean, in my mind, I feel like within certain realms, you resist so hard that you're forced to hit a point where you realize the consequences of your actions, and then, ironically, you end up letting go.
Yeah.
You almost have to exhaust your BS.
Yeah.
It's tough, though.
It is tough, and I think it starts with recognizing the other side's negativity. So what result could spread positivity? Which is kind of what letting go is. Because you're choosing to be the better person in whatever situation, right? And then as you get older, you start to realize, obviously, that time is important. Time is valuable, and time is money, right?
Great point, yeah.
So what can I do to shorten this? Let go. If you just toss that thought, like you don't care about it, the IDGAF, you know, I can give 2 fucks. I swear it'll solve most of your problems, you know? Keep it within your boundaries, like in your environment. You don't need to, like, nothing's going to happen. You don't even have to join an argument half the time. You know what I mean? Most arguments are stupid, unless they're, like, you know, political or whatever.
Yeah.
Then it turns into a war, but...
But it gets more... It's one thing to deal with other people. It's another thing to deal with yourself.
With yourself?
So that's where it gets a little bit more tricky in my mind.
Letting go of things in your mind is a different type of self-control, because you really have to have a good relationship with yourself. So I think it's another stem of self-discipline where...
But isn't self-control and self-discipline a form of resistance?
Yes, for the greater, brighter future of your full potential self.
Mm-hmm.
And what does that follow? That's obviously, there's some sort of philosophy.
Yeah.
Okay. Which is human nature. So we're taking everything. We're taking everything from, like, what exists today with technology, smartphones, whatever, like we said, the lifestyle crap. And you go down to the core of your human essentials. And you start from human essentials, which is like a list of 5, 6 things, right? The rest, if you recognize them as add-ons, you could start adding on little things that are beneficial to whatever goal you desire in the end. And I think as long as you always hover in that space, you'll start to see, let's just say you, like, what's a good example of you trying to let go of something within yourself? Like,
Well, in the past, for me, it was eating junk food.
Yeah.
I can say that unequivocally. Like, sure, there is one component to the junk food that is addictive from like a neurochemical, behavioral standpoint. That they're designed to be addictive foods. But from another, I mean, we're talking, like, a few years ago, like, I had a good head on my shoulders. I knew a lot about health. But why is it that I'm enacting this habit that I know is destructive for me? I hate the symptoms that arise from that habit.
So there you go. Symptoms.
Yet it's still tough to stop.
I would forget everything and just focus on the symptoms because it's clearly distracting you from whatever further goal, right? Whether it's chemically or psychologically, whatever, right? You feel like you're not operating at your 100% self because of the snackage, the junk food, right?
Snackage is a good word. I can see that, yeah.
You get what I mean? So I think it's an environment in your head. That's really what letting go is that you're always remembering what your operation is. And that's what letting go is that you have to bring yourself back to that position, your state of mind, to being like, why is running every day important to me?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's actually helping my further goal. And I feel it. And it doesn't block me day by day.
Yeah.
But if I were to introduce junk food, then I feel like it alters my mind and body enthusiasm in a way where I'm just like, I'm slouching on Tuesday, but Wednesday I'm good to go. And then Thursday I'm going to spend my time eating a little bit more. And you're just kind of like, it's not everyday consistent energy that you are looking for. Some people like to slouch, be whatever, and just live life kind of just chilling, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Which then they don't mind. Like junk food is not really that important to them.
Yeah.
To like quit or whatever, you know? Yeah, that's why I kind of wanted to talk about it, because it's tough to talk about or bring out the correct words.
Especially when you're an obsessive personality.
Yeah.
Like, here's the question. If you're an obsessive personality, what is the line between this is actually your personality based off of the things that you've experienced, and what part of this can be modified to help you out in the future? It's such a blurry fucking line in my mind. Because, like, for me personally, obsessiveness is a strength. It has some weaknesses, but it is such a powerful strength. I don't believe in working on your weaknesses, to be honest.
Yeah.
I actually believe in having a strength so powerful that it overshadows your weaknesses.
Well, it depends. That's like I said.
Well, the question is, all roads lead to Rome, right?
Well, if the weaknesses are categories of things that you are probably going to need at a certain stage of whatever you're developing, then yes, you should work on those weaknesses too. But work on the strengths that are working too, because that's the road to mastery as well, is that you're kind of, you know what I'm saying?
This gets so crazy.
I know, but like, okay, you have an obsessive personality, so recognize what thing is worth obsessing about and what is not. That's two different things.
For sure, yeah.
So I can obsess about vaping, right? And be like, damn, I have an obsessive personality, so I'm not going to vape because I know I'm going to be addicted to it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then that's lack of self-control, because you're not even recognizing it yet as, the hell was I saying? God damn it. I hate these neighbors.
Bro.
So annoying. Whatever.
And let me just stimulate some more convo then.
Stimulate. I like that.
Stimulation.
Yes.
Is there a possibility that if you ignore all of these things that you're resisting, that the problems go away entirely over time? You know, Leo Guru, obviously. We've mentioned him a few times on the podcast. And check out actualize.org. Fantastic work.
Sick.
But he brings up a concept, and this concept is really powerful, in my opinion, that awareness alone is curative. Just being aware of the fact that you are being obsessive with junk food or anything else.
Yeah, solid.
That alone, just because you're shining the light of awareness onto that problem, eventually over time, if you do that enough times, it will go away. Because at a certain point, it just clicks. You're like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah. It's like a reminder. Like, imagine you had a reminder to stretch every, 4 times a day, right? And you skip it 3-4 times. And then the next day, you're like, you still see it, you know? And then you don't stretch. And then the third day, you go to the second notification of like a reminder to stretch. And you're like, okay, let me just stretch.
Yeah.
And then you stretch. Good 15-minute stretch, whatever. And then the fourth day, now you're like, I think I'm expecting a notification to stretch.
So I'm going to stretch.
So then you're still, I swear, like, and you, even if you don't stretch, you're still like, now your brain is telling you, I think I should be expecting to whatever.
And whatever you focus
And
on.
then the
grows,
fifth day, you're like,
typically,
I actually am expecting to get that notification. And then all of a sudden, you're like, I should just stretch.
Yeah, I'm sick of these notifications, bro.
Exactly. So it's like you're building awareness. It's kind of like a muscle, right?
Awareness is incredible, dude. Consciousness
insane.
in general, it's very powerful.
Yeah. Like for me, I remember quitting vaping was because I was so aware 24/7 of what it was doing, you know? And then every once in a while, you'll feel the effects. You're like, like I know I'm not 100% because today I was running at the gym and I just felt it, you know? So you're like, now it's creeping up where it's physically not making you feel the best, you know? But anyway, that's what I liked about the human body and the brain in general. The brain is amazing because you're literally talking to yourself all day if you really think about it.
Yeah.
I know there's people that have
crazy.
silent minds, but it's crazy that you're just like subconsciously like communicating 24/7. What if we did it that way? What if we did this? And then someone goes, "Hey, what's up?" And you're like, and you just kind of break the chatter, you know?
It can be viewed as a form of mental illness from a certain perspective. I mean,
Of course.
we're all just schizophrenic
Well,
within
the
our own
thing
heads.
yeah. You have to know when to stop it. That's what
Yeah.
Alan Watts always talks about, you know?
But then, how do you stop it? That's the question.
This is how you stop it. You realize you're actually in an environment. Like, do things. You know what I'm saying? Like, move around.
So get into the
Dance.
environment and get
I
into
don't know,
your body.
do something. Yeah.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah. Like, you don't want to be, because if you're still, once you're still, that's when you're kind of like, you're moving in a different way. It's your neurons. Like, you're just like, nobody knows, but.
Ooh.
What?
I think this was from Alan Watts. I'm not sure. But here's a good example.
Mm-hmm.
You throw a rock into a pond.
Okay.
What happens?
It either bounces or sinks.
No, I'm not talking about the rock. I'm talking about the water around it.
Oh, it
creates
ripples.
waves.
Yeah.
Creates ripples. And so how do you get the water to a state where it becomes clear and just calm?
Stop throwing the rock.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you don't even have to like do anything necessarily.
Yeah.
You just have to be aware of it and just not do anything.
Exactly. You
I don't know. I hope
basically
that came
say
across.
that. Yeah, no, I get it. Because you're basically saying that you can either initialize it, and you can also stop it by just stopping throwing the rocks. But it's not. It's fine to throw the rock. It's just you're deciding whether you want to or not.
Yeah, you can't still the mind by trying to still the mind.
Mm-hmm.
You have to still the mind by taking a step back from the mind.
Yes. That's when it goes back to like the environment. You know, like we have a white table. Let me watch TV. You know, let me see somebody else's ideas.
That is a great point. Just observing
Exactly.
allows you to get out of your mind. Yeah.
That's why we call them wisdom walks, man.
Wisdom walks with Mr. Ashur.
Exactly. You take 3 walks a day: soul, body, and mind. Anyway, so always keep a beginner's mindset is my advice, because you can't learn what you think you already know.
True. You can't learn what you think you already know. Absolutely. Closed mind.
Exactly. So just be always like susceptible to like learning and receiving information. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. You know, professors still learn till this day. We saw this first example with Jack Cruz and freaking Andrew Huberman.
So that's a great point, actually, bro, because I wanted to talk about that a little bit. He blocked me.
Oh yeah,
He blocked me on Twitter. And guess what I did?
he's that type
I
of
was
guy.
I was upset for a little bit. I was
Yeah.
like, why the fuck would you block me? I'm like the one proponent of your goddamn ideas.
What the hell, Jack? I was just cruising. Yeah.
And so guess what I'm doing right now?
What?
I'm still learning from the guy. I don't care if he fucking blocked me anymore.
Exactly.
It's
Information is
immature.
information. It
Exactly.
doesn't matter how you feel about people. You start to just believe like either it's good information or it's bad information. And I wouldn't be like, this is bad information based off of someone's personality being like a douchebag or a piece of shit, you know?
I actually empathize with him more now that he's sharing more of his personal story too.
Exactly. Even if you like someone, like pay attention to what they're actually sending out as information or as communication. Just if you disagree, you disagree. Even if you like the person, it doesn't matter. You know,
Which is why I disconnect message from
Yeah,
messenger.
so- exactly.
Yeah.
So it goes both ways. Anyway, so start building good habits and get rid of ones that no longer serve you, honestly. Like, serve your end goal, basically what we were talking about. Everyone's going to have different ones. You got to figure that out.
Got to replace one bad with one good.
Exactly. Sometimes even eliminating one whole thing. Like, for example, smoking. I have air. Why the hell would I need to do anything that, I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm quitting cigarettes to switch to vaping.
I have Wim Hof's principles. Why do I need to smoke?
What the hell is this? Because logically speaking, realistically, biologically, everything, your lungs are made for breathing air.
Yeah.
That's it.
True.
So you can inhale things, but it's just like, is it good for you? Not necessarily, no. Building great habits is one of your best things, or one of the best things you could do for yourself, but there is one inherent problem. They can only get you to a certain level. Training 3 times a week, journaling every week, and reading 10 pages a day are great. But if you want to go further, you have to adopt different behaviors. Maybe, just maybe, that your relationships demand more attention. Maybe your kids need more time. Maybe climbing the corporate ladder requires you to learn another skill.
Mm-hmm.
This is often hard to see because our current behaviors already changed our lives for the better. You have to recognize when a behavior serves you no longer. And this isn't just about habits. It's also about your beliefs. They are habitual thoughts. I think I have to work more to make more. My kids are the most important thing to me. Hitting the gym is the best sport. These were all true in the past, but are they still? What if the key to making more money isn't more work, but finding someone who pays you better? What if you find another person or a purpose now that your kids are grown? What if heavy lifts at the gym hurts your joints? Examine what you believe to be true, shake up your thoughts, and ask the tough questions. And this is where I come in with, be honest with yourself.
Kill your sacred cows.
I'm going to say kill yourself. I was like, what the hell? My God.
Don't do that.
Coming in hot here.
Kill yourself.
My God. If you want to get further, sometimes you have to let go of what got you so far.
Yeah. Ooh. I just thought of a good example. The risk you have to take to get wealthy is not the risk you take when you have wealth.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be very, very, very oriented around risk when you're trying to, get up in the world and amass a certain amount of wealth. But when you do have that wealth, this depends on the person as well, but in general, you want to play it safer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a perfect example of having to reorient yourself in the middle of that process.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy, dude. We keep ourselves trapped because we are so used to it. And that's one of the habits, believe it or not. Is that you're always in that trapping mentality.
What do you mean? Like inside?
Yeah. In your brain.
Yeah, that's a big one. It's always in your room.
You keep yourself trapped because you're so used to it. And that could be in the brain, it could be in your room, whatever it is. And being trapped in your rooms is almost the same thing,
They're one and the same.
Yeah.
It's a mentality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know, man. All we have to do is let go of what keeps us stuck. And that's kind of where it starts. So identify those things. What realistically keeps you stuck? What do you feel gives you the impression of you feeling trapped? To me, I've learned to identify these, and it goes like, I start to see that an easy life is because of the hard one that you decide on, right? Because the easy life comes after a hard life.
Mm-hmm.
The tougher the life is, the easier it becomes.
The tougher the life is that you seek.
Mm-hmm.
That you seek.
Exactly. And if I really think about it, the easy life that I had, where it was just like I had, some responsibility, but it wasn't anything crazy. Like I would just clock into work, clock out, and then enjoy the rest of my evenings and do whatever. You complained a lot more.
Yeah. It was life on easy mode.
Yeah. And it made life feel so damn hard. Way too hard, bro. When in reality, when I started doing the hard things first, life became easy and I was so much happier,
Mm-hmm.
And things started working out, actually. And number 2 is the need for me to fit into places and with people. Like, just because everyone wears a Essentials hoodie doesn't mean I need to have one. I don't even care about the thing. You know what I'm saying? But you start to notice it. I like patterns, so I start to notice what society is doing. Everyone wears Air Force Ones. I'm like, I don't like the damn shoe.
Yeah. It's a game of you and you.
You know what I mean? So it starts to get me to think. Do people even think about whether it looks good or not? Or do they just see a model representative that is just like, I want that. And that's it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then don't let people hold you back. I think that's kind of one of the things that kind of goes into the need to fit in. Because it's like, if you fit in and it's the wrong group, people will weigh you down from your true purpose and goal. You're not going to see eye to eye with your end goal.
Yeah, and you remember that rubber band
Yes.
Patrick Bet-David analogy. Every time you extend the rubber band to the point where it snaps, you're going to hurt your finger.
100%.
So there's going to be some pain there, but eventually you'll get over it.
Yeah, you'll get over it. You'll get used to it. You'll expect it.
Yeah.
Get rid of old habits and belief. Just because something got you where you are doesn't mean it will get you further.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy because we live in a world where there's always coincidence, and there's things where it's never definitive to, like, yes, that's exactly what got me here, or yes, whatever. But what I'm saying is just a slight tweak of certain structured mindset from my old mindset. First of all, you have to recognize you have an old mindset. Develop a new one. And it's a mixture of new things and old things that will get you to the new self.
Bro, that has always tripped me out. Just the idea that if my life was any different in like a millimeter in another direction, and this is what ships use to navigate. If they're off by like let's say 1 foot over the course of like a 3,000 mile journey, that's like halfway across the world.
Yes.
So it's absolutely insane to me how all of this relates to getting you to where you are today.
100%. Yeah, and don't forget, nothing holds you back more than your enemy, called your ego. And I think with that, we'll call it the big ego, you know?
The big E.
Yeah, because the ego can let you down a lot of the times. But other than that, I think just it's okay to make detours. You know, I've learned that, obviously, because you can be a little bit extreme at the very beginning. And you start to neglect family and friends and things like that. But always treat yourself with respect. Love thyself. Love people. Spend less time on social media. Get your stuff in order. Follow a schedule. Whether you have work to do or not, follow a schedule. It'll literally shape everything.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it's okay to make detours. So even if you're busy and then you have to go see your sons play, do it, you know, because those things are important too, because we still have a moral compass.
Yeah. My final word is to always remember that a one of one is exceptionally rare and valuable.
Yes.
You look at a one of one Bugatti. That's not a car you would call cheap.
100%.
So keep that in mind.
Yeah. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed this episode. I sure as hell did.
Really spontaneous one, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Anyway, these are things I learned. So if you've learned anything today, or you decided to support us, or enjoyed listening to our beautiful voices, go ahead and follow us at the 2 a.m. podcast. We are also available on Spotify at the 2 a.m. podcast, on Instagram at the 2 a.m. podcast, or on YouTube at the 2 a.m. podcast. And go ahead and follow us on X at 2 a.m. pod. We will catch you guys next time. Thanks for joining us.
Peace.